well, voice my favor of this text change as well, and I think it's something that that will be a good thing for the community, and I think that it's a positive way of supporting our community.
Councillor Connick?
And Mayor Christie, I don't know, would it be improper to maybe ask Jake or Shar if they have a number in mind for bedrooms, or like I hate to for us to put a number on this as far as this particular application goes, or is it just?
Well, I think that's a specific application, and I think within our bylaw we have to have a guideline, and as it comes to it just gives NPC a guideline for that. I mean, and then specific projects as they come forward, I think would be, because it pertains to many different aspects.
I totally agree. I just don't want to hinder this project by saying 3 bedrooms, that's it, kind of thing.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like I just, that's the only thing I caution.
Yeah, gotcha. No, that's fair. Councillor Belsman?
Thanks, Mayor Christie. I am also in support of this particular text change. I appreciate that it is to be considered as a discretionary use, so MPC has the opportunity to review each specific site where this is being proposed. I do want to caution a little bit on quantity of bedrooms. I designed a house that has been built within the city of Lacombe that happens to have 9 bedrooms, and it's all one family. So, you know, they could easily convert it over to something if they so choose. So I don't know how you want to handle that, if that is still the desire of council. Thank you.
Councillor Creasy?
Thank you, Mayor Christie. I guess it wasn't so much the specific number, although I feel 10 is excessive. It wasn't so much the specific number, it was just that we certainly make that one part of the supplementary information items that is included to go to MPC, so that they know, because nowhere in there does it state that. That was more of what I was after.
So what I'm hearing really around the table is support for the text change. Can we do this? Is there any amendments to this, like hard amendments that need to be changed within this document, within this bylaw that is presented to us? So I guess we are looking for second and third reading. Councillor Belsman?
I would like to make a motion that council give second reading to bylaw 300.79.
Thank you. Councillor, no? Any discussion? Any questions? Councillor Creasy?
If I could, I'll just add the friendly amendment that says that along with the supplementary information on the next point, that the maximum number of occupants or residents be stated on the application for MPC.
That would, to me, still be just a procedural thing. I'm not so sure it's necessary to have that
Within the bylaw?
Within the bylaw.
Or Lila? Your thoughts on that?
Certainly, Mayor Christie, at MPC's discretion, they can limit the number of occupants that might reside in such a residence. If you stipulate in the bylaw, of course, it makes it a little more restrictive. If you don't, you entrust MPC to make that decision.
Thank you. So do the what do we call them here, the conditions 1 through 5, do those just suggestions, or do those form part of the bylaw?
They would form part of the bylaw. In speaking to your question about getting the number of occupants as part of the application, I think whether it's in the bylaw or not, it is definitely something that all applicants would be asked at MPC, and we would seek to get that information through their application. The other thing is that because it's going within an existing, it has to go into a house, and so we can look at the floor plans, and they would be submitted as part of the development permit as well. So I think that even though it's not specifically stated in those conditions for applying, it would be definitely covered, and it will be something that would be discussed at each application.
So
that's
let's
presented.
put it in as number 6 then. Is that a big deal? Does that change anything?
I don't have a problem with requiring that as information to be put into it, into an application. I don't have a problem.
I just think it'll help eliminate a little grief down the road if it's just brought up. Just be upfront about it. I don't think it's any secrets. Just let MPC know.
So just as part of the development permit application,
Correct.
to state the number of occupants.
Councillor Boswell? As mover?
I don't know if I would support that friendly amendment, because I think we would also then open ourselves up to another thing, in that is saying, well, we should probably specify how many staff they have, based on the quantity of individuals that are in there. It does indicate that the facility must have permanent staff living on site, but it does not state that we shall have an absolute ratio or anything like that. I don't know, it just doesn't, I'm not going to go for the friendly amendment.
Motion for second reading is on the floor. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor? So carried. Thank you. Councillor Kite?
I'll do the third and final reading, that council will give third and final reading for to bylaw 300.79.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? So carried. Bylaw 300.80, land redesignation. FD to R1C. I believe, Senator Kirchner, this is you.
Yes, it is. Staff is recommending that council only give second reading to this amendment. We're proposing that third reading would occur at a later date once we have progressed enough in the subdivision to ensure that the rezoning area will match up with the subdivision that will be completed.
Thank you. Councillor Connick and Councillor Foster.
I was just going to make the motion that council give second reading to bylaw 300.80.
Thank you. Councillor Foster. Okay. Any discussion? Councillor Boswell.
Thanks, Mayor Christie. Just a quick question. For point of clarification, what we are trying to do is if I'm looking at that map, is this that tiny little corner that we're trying to resolve, correct?
It is a portion of phase 1.
Just that tiny little dot in the corner there.
Yes, yes. It's a remnant
So,
of a previous
well,
subdivision.
why don't we do third reading?
Because it also includes all the R1C properties.
Okay, so it includes everything.
It includes all
Okay,
those.
okay,
That one little,
okay.
yeah, that
Thank
one
you.
little piece is just a
Thanks for the
remnant.
clarification.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? So carried. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you, Senator Kirchner. I think that's it for you. Local improvement, bylaw 386, local tax for relining sanitary sewer service lines. Director Mitchell.
Mayor Christie, so a fairly straightforward bylaw. So this is the local improvement work that was done last year. It has now made its way through all the notification and advertising process, and we're just seeking second and third reading. And once that is done, we will get prepayment letters out to our property owners who have been patiently waiting for a couple of months now.
Thank you. Discussion? Councillor Creasy?
Thanks, Mayor Christie. I was just curious on new services that we put in, they're all done with seamless plastic pipes. We don't have to put up with this in newer ones, newer subdivisions.
I don't know, I don't believe it's seamless.
But this is just for the old,
This for
the old pipe, is it?
Delvin's spigot pipe is still used. So, yeah, not seamless, right? It's not welded. Councillor Foster?
Thanks, Mayor Christie. I'd like to move the council give second reading to bylaw 386 as presented.
Thank you. Any further discussion on that? All those in favor? So carried. Councillor Foster?
Thanks, Mayor Christie. I'd like to move that council give third and final reading to bylaw 386 as presented.
Thank you. All those in favor? So carried. 3 line away. Cemetery services, the master cemetery expansion concept plan. Manager Stewart, welcome and thank you for hanging out with us for your evening.
All evening, thank you. Christy? So just expanding on Chris McBride's presentation earlier today, as well as questions that that came up from the June 24th presentation. I'd like to present a bit of information that we were able to research and provide council with. The first supplementary information that was provided was regarding secondary entrances. So again, the secondary entrance to the cemetery is looking at it probably 15 years or so from now. So it's nothing in the immediate future. And the one option that was brought forward on June 24th was talking about it just being very close to the existing exit entrance. And then council brought up the idea of going to the southeast option off of Woodlands, which infrastructure is very supportive of that and prefers that entrance exit as we move forward. And then the third option that was brought up from council was potentially going what I call the northeast option through the Co-op Mall. And that one infrastructure did not support. They felt that it was could be quite onerous going forward. And then other information I attached to the memo was the disinterment and reinterment costs. If we were to put a road in across from the old cemetery to the new cemetery north of where the columbarium is. And that attachment shows that approximately it would be $87,000 worth of fees if we had to disinter 24 lots, I guess. And then there was also information gathered about moving the existing columbarium, and all the numbers are presented there, but it would basically be a cost of over $70,000, and it would include 9 disinterments. That was something that wasn't presented at the last council meeting at all, was the number of disinterments, and Chris alluded to that earlier. And then financial information as far as the columbarium structure and what we've paid in the past for everything. So in 2007, of course, it's $64,000 structure, and then the concrete pad and prep work and whatnot. So all that is presented for your information. There was also questions about fees and increase in fees. Over the last few years, there's only been a couple of increases. One was on perpetual care fees, so there was an extra $200 increase for plots and niches that were introduced in 2012 for ongoing maintenance, labor, and materials. And also at that same time, there was also an increase to cover off the cost of the plaques and our name tags going forward. And then just for your information, cemetery also receives grant funding from the county, and that's based on the usage of county residents, as well as the question that came up about subsidized, and the cemetery is at 59%. And it's treated similar to the other facilities as far as there is some user pay, and it's consistent with other cemeteries as far as not making money. That's pretty consistent with cemeteries, and a lot of smaller ones even, it's all about volunteer help and things like that. The second question that came up was regarding ball diamond number 4. And the removal of diamond number 4 would take place at the end of August 2015. And that coincides with the cemetery construction timeline that Chris had presented us with tonight. And then the third question that came up was elimination of the second level planting screen on the north boundary. And so this one was, I think, a little bit of confusion as far as we're not taking away anything that currently exists. It's just that we weren't going to add an additional. And pictures have been taken to show you guys that it's quite well masked from between the ball diamond and the houses, and it's approximately 27.5 meters. So it's been well treated by our parks department. There was 2 phases presented from Chris. Basically, phase 1, which was doing the bulk of the work in the fall of 2015 for $225,000, or just doing a phase 1A for $115,000, and that would be just partial area of along Diamond 4. Now, just a couple of questions that kind of came up while Chris was here was the road work, doing the backfill on the current road. There's 3 roads there that exist that we would infill. Is the game plan going forward immediately here, and that could be done in-house potentially as early as fall, and that would be something that our infrastructure manager our infrastructure director would weigh in on if that's being able to put it into their work plan. It's definitely something that our guys can do. And the other question that came up was about I guess if we change around the ball diamond and make it into cemetery lands, the unsettling of the ground. And I think that pertained more to the infield of the ball diamond, because there would be maybe like pit run or different drainage that would be there, but in the field part, there wouldn't be a long-term wait on it. We would be able to use it right away. So I think that was the confusion between Eric's presentation and then Chris's earlier today. And as far as numbers on stats on deaths and whatnot, Chris said after he left he could definitely get us the background information on that, because I know Peter, you put it to the test on that, Councillor Bosma, and he said that was basically all the statistics show that. And I mean, looking at our population, and even when we met with the Legion, them mentioning that 80 vets are approximately 80 years old and older right now. So, and Lacombe being a senior community, we're going to be seeing more usage of the cemetery maybe than some others. And so that's based on our current demographics and stats. But he said he would definitely forward those files if we wanted to take a look at it. So I'll leave it to you guys for any questions or thoughts.
Thank you. Councillor Redfall, Councillor Bausman, and Councillor Foster.
Thank you, Mayor Christie. So in here we're talking about the ball diamond being removed by the end of the 2015 season. So that means that the replacement for that will be ready for the next season. Is that correct?
That is what council, I believe, had agreed to years ago, is that we would have the next set of ball diamonds ready before we decommission those. And so we would like to see that, make sure it's in our capital works budget, or capital budget for next year so that we can get started.
Thank you. Councillor Belsman?
Thanks, Mayor Christie. I really do appreciate the extra work and effort that went into the additional information that is presented here tonight to find out, you know, the real costs behind moving the columbarium and also to disinter a number of graves. I'm not going to harp on this whole issue of quantity of numbers, but when he tells us there's 70 to 75 years of time span allotted for this expansion when we have 5,489 sites, that equates to 73 to 75 deaths per year, you know, as an absolute perfect average. And then he's got 1,650 sites for phase one. You instantly divide it and you've got well over 20 years. So it's, you know, they do have to do their, let's find out what's right, because that makes, to me, a decision, a difference in the decision whether or not we go with phase one or 1A.
Councillor Foster?
Thanks, Mayor Christie. Yeah, my question was basically that as well, because the phase one makes more sense if the need is there to put that phase one into place rather than phase 1A, because the cost will be significantly higher down the road. And if we're only having a quarter, if I remember the numbers correctly, a quarter of the numbers available in phase 1A for 115,000 and 225 for 1,600, you know, the numbers certainly speak to themselves there. The question I have also, Sandy, the budget allocation for the master design plan for the full parcel is $120,000. What does that include? That's everything that's been done up until they start on the final draft of everything, or does that include that? It says right above the, under financial implications. Well, that's what I'm asking, yeah, if it's for the, does that include all the drawings, like he said, if we decide to proceed, we can proceed, if not, it'll be a sealed envelope.
To Councillor Foster, the $120,000 is a complete master plan design with all necessary documentation.
Thank you, Councillor Connick.
Thank you, Mayor Christie. For myself, at least, I think I'm leaning towards option one. I mean, costs will inherently go up. I mean, we might as well do all of it at once. There's got to be some cost savings in it. My only question is, and I guess it was answered, I posed the question, you know, do we foresee burial plots going up in price as a result of the $225,000? And I guess you answered it sort of by saying, you know, industry centers are compared to optimized revenues, which are fair to the consumer, blah, blah, blah. But I guess I'm just looking for a little more of a definitive yay or nay. I mean, do we foresee plots in this first phase increasing at all, or a little bit, or you know, or no?
Well, I wouldn't think they'll go down, that's for sure. But that is something that it's probably time that a survey take place and compare with other cemeteries again, because we try to do that every few years, and it's definitely time to be doing that, and see what the market, you know, shows and whatnot, and then, you know, as well as our taking in our subsidy rate and whatnot too. So comparing that as well, you know, it's a good. So I would think that that would be something that would be looked at, and then it would be brought back to, you know, yourselves to whether you or not you think that the rate change would take place, and that's often either done at council or during budget time.
No, I get that the review happens anyways. I'm just talking, like, I'm just afraid that we're going to spend the $225,000 and there might be a cost overrun, and then we're like, gee whiz, I guess we have to double the cost of plots because because of what we've done here, like, I know we evaluate the prices and so forth, and we compare it to the cemeteries, that's a given, we're gonna do that anyways. But I'm just more concerned about, will we find that after we spend this, yes, we get money from the county, yes, I'm just worried that we're gonna find that, there's gonna be a more significant increase than we had thought, that's all.
And that increase would come back to council, and it's not based on just our expenses, because our expenses can potentially change year to year, and we don't always fluctuate our prices that much year to year. And so it would, it would come back here, and it's not based on, that rate of subsidy. That happens to be the subsidy rate, averaged out over the last 3 years, but that isn't necessarily the rate going forward.
Councillor Creasy?
Thanks, Mayor Christie. I'm just going over the timelines here, and I'm just curious, given that we plan on removing the ball diamond at the beginning of 2015, or I'm sorry, the end of 2015, and we haven't started to build it yet, and it takes 2 years before we can use them for the grass to grow and whatnot. How the heck does that work out?
To Councillor Creasy, we will need to construct in 2014 and have that diamond ready for 2016. So the diamond will be available for use until the end of the season 2015. Therefore, construction must take place in 2014 of the diamond.
And that will allow the 2 years of the 2 seasons of growing time. Is that okay?
Thank you. We've always said that we would replace diamonds and have them ready as they came off the line. Thank you for the research, for staff doing the research on the costing, the actual true costs of possibly building a road for disinterment. And I certainly am glad that we are off that topic, because that is not something that I would ever support, even the movement of the columbarium that is still remains of people's loved ones. With regards to phase 1 or phase 1A, we're removing a ball diamond. I think anyways, we're taking the diamond out of service, whether we do just 1 or 1A. I don't see, as Manager Stewart mentioned, she doesn't see the price of plots going down. I don't see the price of construction costs going down. So I would see it advantageous to doing phase 1 altogether. And with regards to that, I think what it does too is it stabilizes plot price. Because if we do the whole shot now, 15 years down the road or whatever the magic number might be, there's not a significant jump there because of construction costs. So we're able to stabilize costs of plots there. And we have a proven track record of being able to manage a project. Highway 2A is definitely a good example of that. We will be coming, hopefully, in our budget if CP Rail doesn't spend it all. So I am very supportive of, oh, is that out loud? Sorry. I'm very supportive of doing phase 1 and continuing forward based on that information. Councillor Kite?
I also move that we accept and endorse the updated master cemetery plan option 1 as presented by Lisa and Associates.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? So carried. Thank you. Let's keep you there. Manager Stewart, why have you move and come back? Parks and Playgrounds, CEO Report, did you want to introduce that?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Christie. For council this evening is the maintenance request that has been discussed with LAPA, the Lacombe Athletic Association, Athletic Park Association. And I just wanted to introduce this item in sharing with council that I met initially with LAPA representatives to talk about our relationship, the relationship between the city and LAPA. And in that meeting, we talked about 4 items. 4 items were on the agenda. The first was public access to the ME Global Field. The second was consideration on the part of the city to perform turf maintenance. Thirdly, to assist LAPA with a presentation to council on seeking assistance for the hosting of a major event, should that event be planned. And fourthly, to ensure that LAPA was consulted in the formation of a long-term recreation plan. In follow-up to my meeting with LAPA, there was a discussion with the Recreation and Parks Board on public access to the facility. The recommendation from that board is in tonight's memorandum. There was also discussion with the board on an enhanced or an increased level of maintenance, field turf maintenance by city employees. Subsequent to that, our facilities manager met with LAPA representatives, met with representatives from AstroTurf, who is the supplier for the artificial turf, to determine what maintenance is required and what our capacity was to perform that maintenance. So I'll just turn it over to Manager Stewart to further elaborate on that. We also have Manager Benefield with us this evening, and I'm sure if there are questions, he can be helpful in answering those as well.
Thank you. So LAPA and the city administration has worked collaboratively to fully develop all partnership agreements to date and required supporting the operation of this field. ME Global Park is a municipally owned facility and therefore is subject to similar requirements and conditions that are applied to other municipal facilities. Maintenance services is consistent with those provided with to the other sport facilities, whether that's used by other similar groups like minor hockey, minor ball, those sorts of things. The level of the subsidy to this facility is considerably lower than those provided at the Kinsman Aquatic Center, Barnett Arena, or the LMC, respectively 43%, 36%, and 38%. And LAPA's overall operating budget expenditures for 2013 are $199,000, and the city's contribution is $25,000, a mere 12.5% level of subsidy. The facility is operated by a group of volunteers, LAPA, and it's effectively relieves city tax revenues of this expense because of their heavily used volunteers. I hate to know the number of hours that they spend operating and discussing issues there. They've been quite successful in operating of the facility through productive fundraising and revenue generation. They're able to garnish sponsorship and volunteers through ways that the city was asking for dollars and donations that wouldn't always be as well supported. The development of capital replacement budgets for equipment, the purchase of the equipment, and they're expanding the consumer base by hosting several large-scale events drawn from outside the community, which has a lot of spin-off economic gains when people come into town they buy gas, eat supper, go shopping, these sorts of things. Ensuring success to other groups in the general public outside of the pre-scheduled events, and their prudent management of operational budgets. You guys are probably all aware of this, but they paid off a big chunk of their city loan just this month of $55,000, so that was nice to receive. And that took place in July. Supplementary information in response to the questions arising from discussions held at both Rec Board and on June 19th and Council on June 24th regarding the level of maintenance and services provided at ME Global Sports Facility. The members of LAPA met with the CAO to discuss and confirm the maintenance protocols as CAO McQuarrie mentioned. And they discussed about the city providing feedback, suggestions through the facility being open for use during the day for the general public. You know, examples of people getting together, families to throw a frisbee around or kick a ball. And then also the city would consider assisting with turf maintenance, and that incorporates the monthly sweeping of the field, and as well as the discussion of the capital investment of a necessary bucket for the bobcat for when snow removal is required. LAPA has advised that the levels of public access would be presented to the Lacombe District Recreation Parks and Culture Board. I just tend to call them Rec Board, so apologies there. For input, that the community services staff would confirm that the city's ability to assist with maintenance services. LAPA members met with the municipal operational staff to ensure a clear understanding of the procedures and to foster optimum longevity of the facility, lengthening the lifespan of it. And it was also determined that the maintenance can be provided within the existing staff resources and through joint use of the equipment currently owned by LAPA and by the city. And as you probably remember, that extra park staff were hired this year, and that was approved by council, so that has helped assist with that. The value of the maintenance services are estimated to be at $8,590 per year, and that breaks out into the general grooming, which is $3,360. The additional sweeping of the turf, which is $1,680. The cutting inside the grass area with the city mower, $1,950 for the year, as well as the trimming inside this fenced area for $1,600. The snow clearing is estimated to be $75 per hour per equipment, estimating 3 units for 6 to 8 hours per snowfall. And that is something that historically LAPA has been able to contract